The world's four great ancient civilizations, Egypt, Mesopotamia, India, and China, all had extensive trade relations since antiquity. However, the people of these four regions were often specialists in overland transport, or, in the case of water travel, transport along rivers. If we speak of specialists in seafaring, we must look to the states that arose successively around the Mediterranean Sea. We are in the Bronze Age, from approximately 3000 BC to 1000 BC. North of the Egyptian coast, in the Mediterranean Sea, there is a large island called Crete, which today is a part of Greece. It was the Cretans who first pioneered and specialized in maritime navigation. They created a type of sea vessel that became famous across the seas from ancient times until the 14th century AD. This vessel, created by the Cretans, was named Galley in ancient Greek and Galère in modern French. The galley is a type of sea vessel with both a sail and oars arranged in rows on both sides from bow to stern. Because people in that era hadn't yet discovered the physics principles that would allow them to harness wind power to sail against the wind, the galley could only use its sail when the wind was blowing from behind. At all other times, it required rowers to move. For this reason, although the galley was a sturdy vessel that feared neither storms nor waves, it could not travel far from the coast for long periods. This was because the large number of rowers required a great deal of effort and thus a large supply of fresh water, which couldn't be carried in sufficient quantity for many days. Therefore, it was necessary to dock at the coast every night. The galley was a crucial means of transport that allowed the Cretans to conduct trade by sea throughout the Mediterranean region, from Egypt to Greece. We have already seen that agriculture helped humanity increase its production capacity by hundreds of times compared to hunting and gathering. Trade made people wealthy even faster than agriculture did. This is why the early Cretans were among the wealthiest people. However, at the end of the Bronze Age, around 1000 BC, about 3,000 years ago, the Cretans, who were skilled traders, began to decline. This was partly due to the effects of a massive volcanic eruption on a nearby island, and also because they faced invasions from the Greeks and Phoenicians. The Phoenicians were located in the area of modern-day Lebanon. By that time, the Greeks and Phoenicians, having learned much from Crete, had also become skilled seafarers. The Greeks controlled the seas north of Crete, while the Phoenicians controlled the seas near modern-day Lebanon. The Greeks and Phoenicians were both experts in navigation and sea trade, but they had different cultures. The Greeks spoke a language from the Indo European family, while the Phoenicians spoke a language that later evolved into modern Arabic. The Phoenicians, being excellent merchants, created a significant achievement that they left as a legacy to much of humanity in the modern era: the alphabet. That is, a writing system based on consonants and vowels. Symbol-based writing systems, like those of China and Egypt in ancient times, did not meet the practical needs of merchants because they contained too many symbols, tens of thousands. To increase the efficiency of managing their businesses, the Phoenicians conceived of a system that moved away from using tens of thousands of symbols to using just over 20 letters or characters. Each letter by itself had no meaning, but they could be combined and assembled to form a vast number of words as desired. In truth, archaeologists and linguists have discovered texts written with an alphabetic system dating back to around 1400 BC, which is even before the time of the Phoenicians. This oldest known alphabet was discovered in a region within modern-day Syria. This means that writing with a system of consonants and vowels was in use before the Phoenician era, but it was the Phoenicians who developed this type of writing into a widespread and complete system. It is this system that is most widely used by us in the present day. Today, apart from China and Japan, all languages on Earth use a writing system of letters or characters. In the ancient Mediterranean region, the Greeks and Phoenicians did not wage war against each other, but instead divided spheres of influence to establish colonies in their respective regions. The Greeks colonized the northern shores of the Mediterranean Sea, while the Phoenicians colonized the southern shores of the Mediterranean Sea. A colony in this context is different from a colony in the modern era. For the Greeks and Phoenicians of early times, when a city became too populated, some families would leave to establish a new settlement in a new location, whether on an island or along the Mediterranean coast. This would create a new city with an independent administrative structure separate from the old city. Neither the Greeks nor the Phoenicians nor other empires of that period formed nations in the modern sense of a unified state. They were simply people from the same ethnic group, speaking the same language, sharing the same culture, and living together in a large empire, but with independent powers of governance in each separate city, like small, independent city-states. Greek colonies were mostly located on the northern shores of the Mediterranean Sea, but they were also found around the Black Sea, in Italy, and in the southern part of France. To this day, we can still see remnants of ancient Greek colonies through the names of some cities. For example, in France and Italy, the city of Nice, located in the south of France on the Mediterranean coast, has its roots in the Greek name Nikaia, meaning victory. And the city of Napoli, in Italy, is a name derived from the Greek Neapolis, meaning new city. On the southern shores of the Mediterranean Sea, the Greeks established only one major colonial area, Cyrenaica, which is located in modern-day Libya. Apart from the region of Cyrenaica, the southern coast of the Mediterranean Sea was the domain of Phoenician colonies. Although it was difficult for the Greeks and Phoenicians to travel far from the coast for extended periods with their galleys, they were still able to journey by sea from the Mediterranean to other distant regions by closely following the coastline. The Greeks traveled out of the Mediterranean by passing through the Strait of Gibraltar, which lies between modern-day Spain and Morocco. After exiting the Strait of Gibraltar, the Greeks traveled north to England and continued all the way to the Baltic Sea. The Phoenicians, on the other hand, traveled through the Red Sea, located between Egypt and modern-day Saudi Arabia, and sailed south all the way to India. And around the year 600 BC, a group of Phoenicians traveled by galley from Egypt, hugging the coast of the African continent southward. Every night they would dock at the shore to get fresh water and to trade. After traveling for many months, the Phoenician sailors began to notice that while the coastline remained on their right side, the sun, which had been rising on their left when they started the journey, was now rising on their right. They realized they had reached the other side of the African continent in the Atlantic Ocean and were now heading north again. Before long, they reached the Strait of Gibraltar, passed through it back into the Mediterranean Sea, completing a full circumnavigation of Africa.